Hello everybody, Brian from EZG. Thanks for joining me. I want to take a minute to go over our HP38 skid mount unit and HP38 skid steer attachment. Today we're going to discuss operation, we're going to discuss adjusting and setting the pressure on your rotor stator or progressive cavity. We're going to talk about some of the do's and don'ts of operating this machine. We're also going to look at a fail-safe or a shear pin that we have on our through shaft in the hopper. I want to start by going over the rotor stator, or progressive cavity. A lot of times we get machines in for rebuild and rework, and I noticed immediately that the bolts are way too tight. We'll take a closer look at this, and I'll walk you through on how to adjust the bolts and make sure you're not over tightened. When this thing is too tight, it will not rotate, and that's a problem a lot of customers have. We have three what they call pusher bolts for spreading apart your rotor stator. I like to loosen those up prior to messing with my 8 tightening bolts. If you'll notice, these pusher bolts don't have a nut on them. They're simply for keeping this sleeve or stationary part of the rotor stator in place. You'll notice that we have 8 bolts with nuts. The idea behind this is as the rotor stator wears internally, you can slowly tighten these bolts to get your pressure where you need to be. This is our test cap. What we do is systematically tighten these bolts equally, whether it be a quarter turn or a half turn, and then look for your pressure reading on top of this gauge. If it's still a little bit low, don't hesitate to tighten the bolts a little more. Just make sure you don't over tighten them. Too much pressure and the bolts too tight on this machine are not good. Tighter is not better with a progressive cavity machine. Let's have a closer look at hooking up our pressure gauge. With most pumps, you're going to have a heavy-duty connection. On this machine, we have a 4-inch heavy-duty outlet. We simply apply the rubber gasket that you'd use for your delivery system, install our cap, secure with our adjustable 4-inch heavy-duty clamp, voila, we're ready to do a pressure check. I like to keep this machine between 90 and 110 to 120 psi, depending on my mix. 9 times out of 10, when the bolts are too tight, the machine won't even rotate. And when it goes to rotate, it'll make an awful noise. It'll let you know, you'll hear it. We have an emergency stop, or a hopper safety switch. This switch sends a signal saying that it's safe to operate this machine and that the hopper grade is down. Oftentimes I get calls where people have primed their machine or they're washing out. They leave the hopper grade up and they can't figure out why the machine won't start. This is our hopper grade switch or emergency stop system. So anytime anybody opens this grate in activation and this breaks contact, the machine will automatically shut down for safety purposes. Another common maintenance issue, small, albeit very important, is water in the fuel. First of all, verify whether your machine is gasoline or diesel. I know it sounds silly, but these are very important details. And if you do have cans to supply equipment like this on site, make sure they're capped off and covered off so no contaminants like water can enter your gasoline or your diesel fuel. Nice thing about this machine is it has a potentiometer for the speed of rotation, which essentially determines your output or volume. This machine is designed to run at full RPMs. Full RPMs on this machine is 2,750. You'll ramp your RPMs up to full RPMs and control your output or your volume by this potentiometer. A lot of times you'll find that guys, instead of controlling their volume via the potentiometer or this dial for output, they'll actually back off on their engine RPMs. Once again, unit's designed to run at full RPMs and control your volume by volume control. I wanted to take a few minutes to speak about the HP38SS, or skid steer. The exact same unit as the skid mounted unit behind me, only it doesn't have its own motor and independent hydraulic system. These are our pressure and return quick disconnects. This is how you hook this machine up to your skid steer or your power takeoff system to operate this pump. It's very maneuverable, it's more lightweight, and it fits into some really tight spots. We require that the skid steer unit that you use for power takeoff to run this machine has high flow hydraulics, 26-27 gallons a minute. That'll ensure you get your 10 to 12 yards an hour output out of this machine. If it rotates any slower or doesn't have that capacity for gallons a minute, you might still be able to operate this machine, but you will not achieve 10 to 12 yards an hour. One of the common things I run into on the phone with customers that call is the stop. Remember, this is a power takeoff unit, so it doesn't have any electrical. That means we had to install a mechanical stop for the hopper grate. Generally, this means operation when this handle's in line with the hydraulic system. On this machine, this is operational. The idea is to prevent somebody from opening the hopper grate while in operation. You have a really nice view of the hydraulic motor on this machine, which is covered on the skid mount. I also wanted to show the simple operation handle: forward, neutral, reverse. All this steel is shipped in raw, and we make everything here at EZG in Ohio. Take a look at this skid steer plate. This is high-tech, heavy-duty equipment, ready to take anything you can throw at it in the field.